Asterisk. Is Jimin's crying a signal of BTS's golden friendship cracking? Has the accusation against Jungkook triggered an outbreak of emotions that have been pent up? Jimin's shocking facts and shocking emotional reactions are now in the spotlight. Asterisk. What happens if one of the biggest boy band members in the world can't hold back his tears in front of millions of fans? What happens behind the scenes when a figure as powerful as Jimin, known for his firmness and gentleness of heart, is seen sobbing, hugging himself as if trying to reunite a broken heart? It all started with a single outburst, a shocking accusation against Jungkook that dragged his name into a whirlpool of scandal that the ARMY had never imagined. Videos lasting only a few seconds have shocked the virtual universe. In footage that quickly spread across multiple platforms, Jimin can be seen walking out of HYBE's studio with puffy eyes and a face full of emotion, while staff appear to be frantically trying to block the camera. That's how fast the world is changing for BTS fans, from joy to anxiety, from pride to anxiety. For some people, this is just the usual drama of the entertainment world. But for millions of loyal BTS fans, this is a direct attack on the foundation of a brotherhood they believe to be sincere and unshakable. Is Jimin crying because of public pressure, or because he knows something we don't know? The allegations against Jungkook are not trivial. The singer, nicknamed Golden Magne, is accused of being involved in a personal scandal involving a well-known influencer from Seoul. Not only that, big agency names have also been dragged into conspiratorial rumors that some parties are trying to systematically drop BTS's name. Ahead of one member's highly anticipated solo comeback schedule, there has been speculation that these allegations are merely a form of industrial sabotage. But the sharp glare of the public did not give room for rest. As the pressure increased, not only Jungkook was attacked, but also the entire BTS members who were considered to let this happen without clarification. At this point, Jimin, a figure who is known to be full of empathy and protective of all members, finally could no longer contain his emotions. An eyewitness, who is also the production staff of the BTS variety show, revealed that Jimin looked devastated and had been alone in the rehearsal room for hours without saying a word. He was just sitting in the corner of the room. As I tried to speak, he raised his hand slowly, as if asking for time alone. Her tears kept flowing. I've never seen Jimin like that. The staffer revealed Jimin's crying was not only a sign of grief, but also perhaps a sign of a burden that was too heavy for him to bear. In previous interviews, Jimin had mentioned that he was very emotionally connected to Jungkook. He described the Magne as the sister I never had, but always took care of. But this time, it was as if the feeling had collapsed. Many ARMY began to suspect that there were internal tensions that began to arise as a result of this situation. Could Jimin feel betrayed? Or on the contrary, feel helpless to see the person he loves so mercilessly destroyed by the media? Other speculations point in an even more surprising direction, that Jimin has been keeping a secret burden on internal issues that have never been revealed to the public. An anonymous account claiming to be a former HYBE staff member said that some BTS members have experienced severe mental stress due to excessive expectations that have continued to mount since 2020. Jimin most often cries silently. He bears too much guilt, as if whatever happened to the other members was his failure to keep their families intact, the account wrote. When the video of Jimin crying went viral, Twitter and TikTok were immediately flooded with the hashtags #StayStrongJimin and #ProtectJungkook. Hundreds of thousands of comments flooded the platform, mostly with prayers, support, and calls for HYBE to immediately give an official statement. But until the moment this news was written, there had not been any clarification on the part of the agency, only silence, which further thickened the curiosity. And this is where the most astonishing thing happens, that a photo, allegedly a screenshot of BTS members' internal chat group, leaked on the Korean fan community. In the conversation, which has not yet been verified, it can be seen that Jimin wrote, "I don't know if I can continue to endure seeing this all. I thought we were one. But why does it all feel like an illusion now?" That sentence, if it really comes from Jimin, has made millions of hearts sliced ARMY. The word illusion became a symbol of Jimin's never-before-seen sense of devastation and despair. Fans are wondering, will BTS be okay after this? But as with all storms in life, there is a ray of light. The night after his cry was recorded, Jimin uploaded a short story on his personal account. Just one white heart emoji, accompanied by sad piano background music. No words, no statements, but enough to make the entire fandom come back together in sympathy and hope. Army, which has been the main stronghold of BTS, is now also showing its strength again. The global fanbase came together to launch a digital campaign titled #TogetherForJungkook, a call to strengthen the bond of two members who have been known to be very close, Jimin and Jungkook. In the midst of chaos, the love of fans is only getting stronger, pouring in from different parts of the world. Now the world is waiting. Not just an official statement from HYB, not just a clarification from Jungkook, but also the hope that Jimin's tears are not a harbinger of separation, but the beginning of recovery. Will their relationship last as long as before? Or is this the beginning of the rupture of ties that have been considered unshakable? One thing is for sure, Jimin cried not without reason. And each of her tears is now a symbol of the hurt, sincerity, and deep love for the family she built with BTS. This scandal, which at first seemed like an ordinary rumor from the gossip media, has now slowly turned into a kind of internal conflict that could undermine the sanctity of BTS's image that has been guarded with almost religious fanaticism. Over the years, BTS has been considered more than just a musical group. They are a symbol of strength, unity, and even hope. But what happens if it turns out that everything is just an outer shell that never reflects the real reality? Jimin is crying, but not just out of sympathy, not just out of love. There's something deeper. There are wounds that are long hidden, maybe even gaping all this time, but always covered in polite smiles on stage, or buried under shiny stage clothes and perfect choreography. That it has been suggested that the conflict is not solely about the allegations against Jungkook, but about the accumulation of years of mental stress, silenced emotions, and inequalities that have never been openly discussed in the group's internal dynamics. The old rumors are back, that there is a hidden tension between members who have long felt under-recognized for their contributions and other members who are always in the spotlight. Some fans even dared to voice the theory that Jimin's tears were a form of despair because he felt he was always in the shadow of Jungkook's undeniable popularity. Is it possible, then, that for the first time, we see the cleavage of a brotherhood that has so far seemed perfect? Is BTS's harmony just branding imposed by the industry for the sake of maintaining an image? A sharp but important question to answer. Because if it's true that Jimin cried not just out of sadness, but out of disappointment and fatigue, then this is the most human and most painful moment in BTS history. What makes this situation even hotter is the lack of quick clarification on the part of the agency. The public wondered, why was HYB so slow to respond? Are they weighing the best strategy to control reputational damage? Or are they deliberately allowing the public to speculate, to keep attention focused on BTS's name, both in the form of sympathy and sensation? Some industry insiders speculate even further that this could be a form of crisis control maneuver deliberately designed to open up new narrative space before a massive comeback. In the world of K-pop, nothing is pure. Even tears can be part of the strategy. But the question is Jimin, such a sincere and emotional figure, willing to make his feelings a tool in the game? Conspiracy theories don't stop there. Some have suggested that this scandal arose as a form of sabotage from internal factions that disagreed with BTS's direction as a brand, especially after some members began to be more active with solo activities. Is this a sign that group unity is beginning to lose its relevance in the eyes of the industry, and that individual groupings are more profitable from the commercial side? All of this raises a stifling question. Who exactly controls BTS's narrative? Members or industry? The reality that many ARMY find difficult to accept is that BTS is no longer just a music group. They are multi-billion-dollar industrial machines. And like all great machines, they have parts that must always work, or be replaced if they can no longer keep up with the pace. Jimin at a point where he is questioning his own position in the machine. In that deafening silence, a terrible question arises that continues to hang in the air. Is this the beginning of the end of BTS? They are no longer just teen idols. They are global projects, symbol of Korean cultural diplomacy, a face juxtaposed with the head of state, an icon of morality, an ethical role model, and in some cases, a collective emotional outlet of a lonely and disoriented generation. And so, when one of them cries, the public sees not only tears. The public witnessed the shaking of the foundations of modern mythology that they had been building for more than a decade. Jimin cries, and we watch him, hypnotized. However, let's talk about darker possibilities. There are whispers behind the scenes of the K-pop industry that this scandal is not coming from outside, but from within, internal sabotage. A reset already devised by interested parties to shift the map of strength in the group, or even dismantle BTS slowly without mentioning dissolution. Is it too crazy to believe? Not for those who know how cruel the Korean entertainment industry is. The world of K-pop is a world where friendships are curated, intimacy is produced, and conflict is censored to the point of sterility. Many believe that contracts are sacred laws, and loyalty is only valid as long as the profit rate continues to rise. Jimin, in this position, was at the most vulnerable intersection. He is too human for such an inhuman system, too honest to remain silent, but also too faithful to divulge the truth. If it is true that Jungkook is indeed involved in serious scandals, whether related to personal life, violence, or even abuse of power, then Jimin will have to choose, protect his brother, or protect the morality that he has been holding tight to. And can we ignore the possibility that tears are a form of regret because he has been guarding lies? That there are things that he knew for a long time but never revealed in order to maintain the good name of the group and the false harmony created by the camera. What made things even more suspicious was the response of the other members, or rather, the absence of a response. No posts, no open support for Jungkook. There is no defense against Jim. It's like a silent battlefield, where all sides choose to hold back knowing that one wrong move could blow up the entire building they've built so far. When the world demanded honesty, BTS just gave silence. And when fans are looking for hugs from their idols, they get only a cold and indifferent wall. It is at this point that love turns into suspicion, loyalty turns into pressure, and fandom turned into a court. Some ARMY seniors began to openly express disillusionment, questioning whether they had loved a real person, or just an edited version of the humans locked up in the corporate narrative. The hashtag #NotMyBTS began to creep up, juxtaposed with hashtag #SaveJimin and hashtag #ExplainJungkook. Even crazier, reports emerged that someone from within HYB's environment had contacted the media to offer visual evidence that the allegations against Jungkook were valid. The reports cited hotel camera footage, text messages with ambiguous context, and even alleged covert payments to the women involved. If that's true, then the question is no longer, is Jungkook guilty? But to what extent has BTS been guarded by the powers that be to cover up its sins? It's not just about scandals. It's about a system that, so far, has been wrapped in smiles and grandiose concerts, but in fact keeps an invisible hierarchy of power. A system in which one member could be desperately protected, while the other had to cry alone in the studio hallway for being too honest to come into the role. Jimin, in the eyes of many, is now a martyr, a symbol of truth buried by silence. If he spoke, the world would collapse. If it remained still, it would slowly disintegrate from within. Is that a fair choice? Even more tragically, the possibility that Jimin's tears were a last-ditch effort to save his integrity before it was too late was now something that could not be ignored. It's not kids anymore. He knows how stupid the world is. He knows that if he doesn't cry today, he will be forced to smile on the wrong day. Do you still believe that all this is just a misunderstanding of the media? Or are you starting to realize that BTS, no matter how great, are also ordinary humans who can hurt each other, betray, and sink under pressure? Jimin's tears have opened the door to a world that had been sealed shut, a world of hurt, resentment, fear, and perhaps separation. Don't get me wrong. This is not just gossip news. This is a story about a rift in heaven, about the most painful question in love. Do you really know the person you love? And now, as the world debates Jimin's tears, we must also dare to ask the most taboo question: is BTS still intact? Or has it just been pretending to be intact all along? In a K-pop scene that is completely controlled and wrapped in the illusion of luxury and true love between members, the public has been fed the narrative that BTS is a group that never fights, never hurts each other, and never falters. But Jimin's cry shattered the myth like a slowly cracking glass. Not because of weakness, but because the truth is ultimately too heavy to bear alone. They are no longer young people who sing with all their heart carefree. They are now pawns in the industry's political game, and perhaps victims of a silent agreement made years ago. Stay together, no matter what, even when hearts are no longer whole. But how long can you pretend to love yourself if you no longer know who your friends are, who your enemies are, and who is manipulating you? Jimin may not just be crying over Jungkook. It could be that he is crying over himself and the choices he has made. Because don't forget, it's not just about Jungkook's reputation. It's about who is responsible when everything collapses. And if Jimin all this time knew, but remained silent, then his tears were too late redemption. Imagine this. You defended someone desperately for years. Consider it family. Pick it up every time it falls. Cover his wounds, swallow your anger, keep his secrets. But in the end, that person destroys everything, not just himself, but also your pride, your integrity, and everything you've built. It was not just treason. That's slow character assassination. What Jimin didn't say became much louder than what he had ever said on stage. His body language, his silence, and his tears speak a universal language. Disappointed, hurt, disgusted. And the public knows. We know. But we still hope for reconciliation. It remains to hope that the tears were not the end, just a temporary moment of weakness. But what if it's not a weakness? What if it's the beginning of a fight? Some industry observers have already begun to whisper a sharp analysis that Jimin is at a critical juncture. Either survive in a narrative he knows is full of lies, or go out and destroy it all for the sake of honesty. And make no mistake, if Jimin talks, if he decides to no longer play according to the script given by the company, then the K-pop industry can be shaken to the roots. Jimin is no ordinary idol. He is not a small pawn that can be discarded quietly. It's a face. It was BTS's emotion. If he rebels, the entire foundation of BTS as a brand, as an ideology, could collapse. And HYB knows that. That is why they are silent. Because they're scared. They couldn't scold Jimin in public. They couldn't tell him to shut up in the same way that they suppressed ordinary trainees. This explains why until now there has been no clarification. There was no official statement from Jimin, Jungkook, or the agency. Because they're not just putting out fires. They are waiting for who will move first. Who will drop the bomb first. And in the midst of this silent war, the public becomes both a witness and an instrument of pressure. The army that had been BTS's stronghold was now divided. Some blame the media. Some blame Jungkook. Some even began to attack Jimin, calling him dramatic, emotional, too sensitive. This is how the world treats them. Loved when strong, laughed at when fragile. Jimin remains silent. Maybe it's not that I don't dare to talk. But knowing that, once he spoke, everything changed. Perhaps he is considering, is it worth destroying everything for the sake of the truth that will not make him happy either? There was one rumor circulating in the closed community of Korean fans, that Jimin had actually considered leaving the group since 2 years ago, that he feels too trapped in an image that is not him, that he began to question whether all this was still worth fighting for. And now, as Jungkook is dragged into scandal, all those feelings are back, wilder, hotter, more devastating. Some extreme fans even began to prepare for the worst possible, that BTS would break up in the near future. That this scandal is just a trigger that detonates a long ticking time bomb. Because if the relationship between the members is irreparable,